Hey everybody, Wolfie here. It's December 27th, so I've got 5 days before I get to Amicolo Falls and 6 days before I start my through hike. And today I wanted to discuss the things I learned on my shakedown hikes. And let's go for number one. Number one's a positive. And it's a personal revelation for me, is that night hiking is a lot easier than I ever thought it was. Solo night hiking was easier than I ever thought it was. And it's not scary at all. Not once was I startled, frightened, scared that I lost my way when I was night hiking. So I did all my shakedowns on the Allegheny Trail, which it's West Virginia's longest trail. It's 311 miles, goes from the Mason-Dixon line at the Pennsylvania-West Virginia border and goes down to the West Virginia border where it meets the Appalachian Trail on top of Peters Mountain. With that being said, that trail is a lot less traveled than the Appalachian Trail. And I did a lot of night hiking, and the trail, I could tell where the trail was at night a lot better in some cases than I could during the day. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because the way the headlamp hit the trail and highlighted where the people were walking, even though I did a lot of fall hiking this year at night and it was covered with leaves where nobody's been before, but I could still tell where the trail was. And as far as being startled and stuff, the only eyes I ever saw were from spiders that were down in the leaves reflecting light back at me. So there's nothing that was startled out there with me. I was out there all by myself with nobody else out there. That might be different on the Appalachian Trail where more people are going to be out there hiking, but I think my biggest fear about night hiking on the Appalachian Trail, it's not really a fear, it's just I don't want to disturb other people. If I'm night hiking and I come into a shelter site late at night or after hiker midnight and get there. And then for those of you who don't know, hiker midnight for hikers is as soon as the sun goes down, everybody gets in bed and tries to go to sleep, because you don't want to waste battery on a light or anything else, and you just want to get your rest because you're going to be up at sunrise the next day moving on and getting more miles. So that was my first lesson learned. And I like I said, I think that was definitely a positive. So let's move on to some things that I learned. So lesson learned number 2, and this has to do with wet weather gear, especially when it's getting, I would say, right around freezing and you're getting cold and it's raining and it's about to turn to snow. So, and this is one I experienced on my last shakedown hike. And even though I had the equipment, here's the problem. So these are rain mittens. This is one of the things that I proved that you can find hiking gear and not pay a lot of money for. And this really wasn't hiking gear. These are rain mittens for motorcycles. If you look online and look at hiking rain mittens, you find almost the exact same thing, but they're 3 or 4 times the cost. I think I paid for my rain mittens, I found them on Amazon under, like I said, motorcycles, and they were like 10 bucks. But here's the lesson I learned. If these are in your packed away, even if they're in a compartment on the outside or a zipper pocket on the outside, you won't use them. The place to put these are in the pockets of your rain jacket. Otherwise, you will not put them on. And the problem I ran into is I had a pair of merino gloves. The temperature, it was raining that day. I had them on as I was putting my tent and stuff away, and the temperature dropped. I was on top of a mountain, had about 20-25 mile an hour winds. It was coming through, and I could not get my hands warm, even though I was moving at a pretty quick pace, which normally that doesn't happen to me. Normally what happens is if I have gloves on, I'm taking them off within the first 15-20 minutes of a hike, even if it's freezing, as long as it's dry, because my hands are hot and the blood's flowing. In this case, though, I could not get my hands warm because the wind was blowing, hitting my merino gloves, wicking away moisture, and plus putting down more moisture, and I just couldn't get warm. If I would have had my gloves in my rain jacket pocket, which I had on, I would have been more apt to put them on, as opposed to dropping my pack, digging them out, and putting them on. So the place for anything rain related that's thin, put them in the pockets of your rain jacket. If your rain jacket doesn't have pockets, you know, put them on your hip belt. Put them, you know, these are kind of small. They don't take up a lot of space. You know, put them in a fanny pack or something, but keep them where you can get to them. Otherwise, you won't use them. Lesson number 3 is, you know, I thought I'd be one of those guys that when I had to pee at night, I would just get up and go. Well, that was up until I hit my first time being down in the teens in temperatures, and I was nice and toasty inside my double layer quilt, and I didn't want to get out to go pee. So I held it and held it and held it. It was probably the worst night's sleep I had in my life, even though I stayed warm. So at one point on the trip, I had stopped at a state campground and the vending machine was working, so I got me a soda for the sugar and energy, and I kept the bottle and used it as a pee bottle. But you know, it's a pop bottle. It's very difficult to pee into it in the middle of the night, so I got me a collapsible water bottle. It's a 1 liter collapsible. It's more than enough room. When I was using the 20 ouncer in the middle of the night, I kind of filled it up and still had to go. So, you know, for men, I know this isn't good advice for women, get you a collapsible bottle. You're only going to be using it for that, even though you can rinse it out. But use it for that. Keep it beside your sleeping bag at night. That's lesson number 3. So the other lesson for me, and this goes again, it's cold weather camping, especially, and the reason I think I'm focused on this is because I'm starting in January. This, you know, is a lot of standards. This is the BRS 3000. It's a really lightweight, cheap backpack camping stove. You know, no frills, no auto igniter. It does the job. And I would say most of the time, this would be what everybody needs, you know. But in cold weather, here's the problem. And especially, this is the problem for me in particular. I carry a Nalgene bottle for winter camping. And my thought is this is a 900 milliliter titanium pot, really lightweight, comes with a titanium lid that you can use too. And I thought that this with my fuel stove in cold weather would be great. The thing is in cold weather, this stove doesn't do such a good job of heating up this much water. And if there's any kind of wind blowing, it does an even terrible job. And I thought I could get by getting me a windscreen and make do. Well, the more trouble than what it's worth. So, and for me, I'm always the kind of guy, I like to find the cheapest gear I can get by with. And I don't like to hop on bandwagons. But it was on sale, and I got me a jet boil for winter camping. It's got fuel and stuff in it though, but it's definitely a lot heavier than this. Come spring, I will be going back to my 700 milliliter Tokes pot and my BRS 3000 and a Bic lighter, because it's still, with all the components added together, it's still less than this. But this heats up water really quickly. It's insulated, and you know, within the time it took me to heat this up to steaming, I could have 2 of these boiling and put in my Algene bottle, and that Algene bottle be at the foot of my sleeping quilt to get warm. And then I take that Algene bottle if I'm really cold. I put it between my thighs to heat up the major blood vessels, and that helps too. Helps a lot, actually. And then the added benefit of that is I always have water that's not frozen the next morning. So that's the thing. I hate jumping on the jet boil bandwagon. I think these are highly overpriced, but they do fit that niche market of, if you're in cold, need to save fuel, need to heat that water quickly so you can get in your sleeping bag and get warm. It is definitely, the price is worth the comfort and peace of mind that you're going to have fuel for 5 or 6 days. So let's talk about the other thing in the room. This goes about sleeping warm. I find I carry the smart water bottles. But even though I've got that smart water bottle here, I find that if I'm hiking and I have to stop, pull out that smart water bottle, take a lid off, take a drink, put it back in, I still find that I personally don't drink enough to stay hydrated. And the reason I tie that to sleeping warm is because if you do not drink enough, you go get in that sleeping bag, you're going to find that it's really, really hard to get warm. And a lot of people don't equate that. They say, well, I need a thicker sleeping bag, or I need a warmer sleeping bag. Well, really, you just need to drink more water so your body can help warm up itself when you're in that warm sleeping bag that you already have. It's just your body's trying to shiver to compensate for your lack of water. So what I've done is I've taken a cap off of a 700 milliliter flip top cap off a 700 milliliter smart water bottle, and this is 5/16 outer diameter plastic tubing. You can find it at Lowe's, Home Depot, or other hardware stores. Cut off a section of it, and that can fit to the bottom of a 1 liter bottle, and then I cut it at an angle, and then I have it sitting here, and I can flip it in and out of the way, and I drink a lot more water. So that is my other lessons learned, is I keep one of these with me, and then on some resupply boxes, I'm not going to use a lot of resupply boxes, but on the resupply boxes that I'm having sent to me, or my medication bundle or stuff like that, I have these made up that my wife can take them, drop them in that small box or in that envelope, and send me one of these so I can replace them every so often. And these aren't hard to replace on trail either. And I keep an extra one with me in case somebody else wants one or I lose one. But that's the other lessons I learned, is I need to drink more water, and this helps me do it. So the other thing, and this goes about not jumping on bandwagons, is I found a headlamp, and I really love this headlamp. It really does a great job. But here's the thing: is it uses a special charging connector that snaps on the bottom, right? And it's USB-C, but it uses that special charging connector. So I also had a pair of headphones that I really love, that are really great quality headphones, that also use a special charging connector. And then on top of that, I have a smartwatch that uses a special charging connector. And then I have a Zoleo that uses the old micro USB charging connector. So I've got all these cables. And even though I've had times that I've been out and for some reason I've forgotten a cable at home, or I stuck it somewhere in like in a hip belt pocket or somewhere, and I can't find it right away to charge my devices. And it's, again, it's cold, it's raining, you don't want to disturb other people, so you don't want to dig around your bags to find it. So I went and simplified my life, and I've got a new set of headphones. I made sure, while they're still quality, I made sure they charge by USB-C. I bought a Nitecore NU25, and the reason I bought this is, yeah, it's lightweight and everybody swears by it, but the reason I bought it is because it's one of the main ones that is charged by USB-C. So now the only thing that uses a special cable besides my Zoleo, and it's really not a special cable, I can find it at any gas station. The only thing that I have is my smartwatch, but if I don't use any special functions, its battery life's good for 40 days, but it's the only charging cable that I have to carry that's special. So now I've got my Nitecore 20,000 milliamp battery. I carry an Anchor 10,000 milliamp battery. Between those two, I can go 5 or 6 days as long as I conserve battery. And my cable management is a lot easier. I carry a USB-C to USB-C, a USB-A to USB-C. I carry the adapter for my Nitecore, which I've forgotten multiple times and couldn't charge the devices because I forgot this adapter. But my Anchor, I could charge off my Anchor battery with a regular cable. But you know, that's lessons I learned is, you know, while there's really good devices out there, like, you know, like I really love this headlamp, but there's times that you just want to simplify your life, and cable management is one. And the less cables you carry, the less weight you carry. Even though I wasn't concerned with weight, it's about finding the cables or leaving a cable at home or being able to get a backup cable on the trail. You just want to keep things simple, and that's the lessons I learned there. So, you know, there's probably other lessons I learned. Oh, another lesson I learned is if you're winter camping, and I've said this in other videos, is if you have like a 3-season tent and you can remove the inner, once it gets below a certain temperature, that inner is really not doing you much good. You might as well just save the weight and leave the inner at home until spring when you need it for bugs. Unless you need that false sense of protection. But you know, that's again my personal preference. For me, it's not really about the weight, it's about saving the space in my backpack, because winter gear takes up more space. It is heavier, but winter gear takes up more space. And for me, I'll swap spaces. I'll lose weight by sending winter gear home. I'll gain a lot more space, and at the same time, I'll have my inner to my tent sent to me come spring to keep out bugs and other things. Things like mice and stuff like that, it deters them, but it will not keep them out. They'll just eat a hole in through your inner and come in that way. But those are the lessons I've learned. I think the biggest thing that caught me by surprise was how comfortable I felt in the woods at night moving through it on a trail. I don't think that would be the case if I had to blaze a trail or, you know, but as long as you're on a marked trail at night, I was really surprised at how comfortable I was being out there and not being worried about what's around me as much as what I thought it would be. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And TTFN, ta-ta for now. See you down the trail.